Friday evening, and I'm actually going live on Facebook and our Instagram page. And I am really excited to talk to you about our topic today because we are diving into some March Madness at Re+active. And part of March Madness is we are launching our first group of the mastermind. They are starting next week. We're all going to be diving into motor learning principles together, and that's what we're talking about today. So this journey has been a long time in the making for us to put together a mastermind for people to learn and grow together through mentorship, through reading, through application. And we have none other than Mike Studer joining us next weekend at Re+active for our Neuropracticity 2.0 course, which is really all about taking some of these motor learning principles and putting them into action. So I really couldn't be more excited about this. I love this stuff. So as we got prepared as a mastermind group for this topic, some really good questions came up in regards to the optimal theory and applying it. So some questions like, why does it help? What are the principles that drive this? How can I improve my own language to provide more autonomy to people? And how can I set up the environment to promote and provide external focuses and external cues? So these are awesome questions and really help us dive into some of these motor learning concepts as they apply to life, but I apply them to my own running training all the time, but to physical therapy, to occupational therapy. So this is a little sneak peek of our Neuropracticity course coming up and just how we're going to apply it together as therapists. So today we're going to discuss the why behind the principles of the optimal theory. We're going to give some tips for changing your language to provide more autonomy to people, and then how you might set up the environment to provide that autonomy and the external cues. So let's dive right in. One of the first things I'm going to recommend is that you read the Optimal Theory paper. It's Wolf and Luthwaite from 2016. We're going to start with the science behind this. And it's very near and dear to me because in the field of motor control and learning, this is an area that Dick Schmidt, who is the namesake of our fellowship, this is a big area of his interest, and he really pioneered some of the research in this area. So what is optimal? Optimizing performance through intrinsic motivation and attention for learning. So optimal for short. And this theory and work has come from a really long history of motor control research, looking at how people can improve their movement skills. And the theory takes into account the social, the cognitive, the affective, and the motor nature of the skills, the movements that we do, and in particular highlights three areas. And you've definitely heard me talk about these before. So that's autonomy, enhanced expectancies, and external focus of attention. So I want to hit on some of the science behind the three of those. So the first is autonomy. And this is the principle that providing choice, providing people choice and control over their environment, that can really improve their motor learning. And we might see this in several ways. So control over their practice conditions. So if we're working in therapy, maybe it's control over what assistive device you might use for a task, what order of the tasks you might do, what color of the TheraBand. This includes the language. So we're going to hit on this one in a little bit, the language that we use, and even things as simple as providing incidental choices. And one of my favorite pieces of this literature comes from a study where they had people come in to do a task and they just gave them the choice of which picture to put on the wall. And that like totally arbitrary, not related to the task choice, actually improved people's motor learning. So I love that study, and it shows that it doesn't have to be a huge choice that somebody makes. So why does this contribute to motor learning? So a few things. So one, it enhances self-efficacy. And as in all of these pieces of this model, it promotes a focus on the task versus a focus on the self. It reduces some of the concerns about your own abilities, and it frees up then attentional resources to your performance. This decreases fear and confusion. And then, what some of the studies actually show is that it reduces stress. So cortisol actually gets down regulated when provided autonomy. So brain change is happening. This is a really wonderful way to promote motor learning when people are learning or changing movement. So number one, autonomy. Second is enhanced expectancies. What does this really mean? So I love in the article, they actually talk about, human beings have this propensity to really prefer positive information about themselves. And I think that's definitely true. Like feedback about your performance or your fitness or your athleticism, your health, all of those things. And when we provide enhanced expectancies, so when there's an expected to be a more positive outcome, it facilitates motor learning. This can be seen in several ways. One of my favorites is actually through seeing others, through vicarious experience, seeing and knowing that others have been through something and made a recovery. This is very powerful through videos and things like that. Providing feedback about positive trials versus just feedback about all of the negative trials. Providing feedback about what assets and strengths the person has. This is something actually we added to our goal sheet that we use with people on their first visit. Doing some self-modeling video feedback. So taking video of performances and editing to show the most successful trials, for example. So these are all examples of how we can provide enhanced expectancies to promote motor learning. And I just have to tell you about one of my favorite studies, and this was with teaching a golf putt. And what they did is actually, had the hole and then two different sizes of what was considered a successful outcome if you got it in there. So a larger circle and a smaller circle. And the people who actually were told the larger circle was the more success actually ended up with a better golf putt and ended up with improved retention of the motor learning. So even though that was actually less accurate, less closer to the hole, it provided more motor learning. And I love that. So redefining success is a part of this and providing that success. So I think that's so powerful. What a great thing that we can incorporate into therapy. Now, what about the why? Why is this enhanced expectation helpful, even beyond just that this is like a basic human desire? So the enhanced expectancies actually help people get ready for a task. This improves their self-efficacy, and it influences how we set the goals and then generate that goal setting. I don't know if you can tell, my dog's getting in and getting excited about enhanced expectancies here. This was planned to be done from the clinic today, but I stayed home sick. I have a cough and a sore throat. We've got a lot of virus stuff happening right now. So I took my own advice that I've told everybody else: stay home if you are feeling sick. So doing this from home, having my dogs join me as we talk about enhanced expectancies. The other thing is when we have an enhanced expectation of the outcome, dopamine is released. When dopamine is released, this enhances motor learning, enhances the memories that are produced as we learn the task. And This is so huge because we can consolidate that learning even more. So again, brain changes with this small little piece of how we might set up a task. Okay, the third thing is the external focus. What does this mean? So an external focus means focusing on the environment or the outcome instead of the self. So focus on that external goal instead of an internal focus on body movements. So an example that I was with the wonderful Ashley Wallace today, virtually, actually, we did virtual mentoring because I have this cough, and she just put a piece of tape on the person's shoe, and instead of saying lift your foot, she said lift the tape. And this has a huge effect. I know it seems really small, but it has a huge effect. Another example, so a lot of this stuff comes out of the sports literature. Hitting a golf ball, focusing on the motion of the club or the ball trajectory instead of your arms or your hand position. So an external focus. And this has been found over and over again to improve balance, to improve accuracy, to improve movement efficiency. It even improves the muscular activity, the force production, even the endurance. So many effects. And most importantly, it promotes automaticity. So it promotes how automatically and how accessing some of those automatic movements. And why is this? So a big piece of this, and a big piece of the optimal theory as a whole, is that the focus on the goal and task instead of the self leads to more effective goal action coupling. And that is what you need for motor learning. So we touched on those three briefly. We touched on autonomy, enhanced expectancies, and the last one, external focus. So we're going to hit on a couple of those based on questions that people have asked. So one of the biggest questions that come up and people say they struggle with is just our own language. And this is because the empowering and autonomous language, this is not what I learned in school, and specifically in a medical model. I think we learned very controlling language, like here's what I recommend. So one of my favorite pieces actually came from Rebecca Luthwaite joining us in clinic to talk about the optimal theory. And she said, just very simply, listen to what you're saying and then notice your words and phrases. So in particular, the one that she honed in on is therapists love to say things like, I want you to do this, or I want you to try this. And we do. I find myself saying this all of the time, maybe less now because I'm aware of this controlling language. And she said, here's a suggestion. Consider changing it to, let's try this, or what do you think about this, or provide a choice or an option. And it's such a simple little change of language that provides more autonomy and less of the control. So I know when she talked to us about this, I found myself saying things like, I want you to at least 20 times. I want you to stand by the wall. I want you to do this band. I want you to do this. So I encourage you to try this out. Let me know what you find. But a small change in the language from controlling to autonomous can really change a person's outcome. And because you're improving their motor learning. So powerful. Okay, the last question that people ask, like, how do I set up my environment? What can I do to provide autonomy and this use of external focus? So I was hoping to be in the clinic today where I have all kinds of props, but even here at home, I have a few. So one of my favorites, and I've talked about this before, is actually the laser lamp. It's so simple, but it's external. So you plop this on the head. If I can get it on. This is like for my own cervicogenic headaches and dizziness and my joint position area. So I'm going to turn it on to the laser here. And then instead of saying, hey, turn your head, just say, oh, hey, put that laser on the target. Totally external, and it can absolutely change somebody. Look at my hair after that. Absolutely change somebody to a more automatic movement. Note to self, don't put a laser light on during a live video. Other really simple things. So I love little stickies and tape. And so as simple as the other day, I was doing this with someone and we ended up putting these on her shoes, but as simple as putting on the hand and saying, instead of saying lift your hand, like green tape to a specific target. So tape, stickies, stickers. I also think they're kind of fun. I bought a bunch of fun stickers recently. So we had otters and we put otters everywhere, and the person was moving their otters, which were attached to them, instead of telling them to use their hands. I love on the treadmill using chalk as an external focus of throwing cards down. So I brought some of actually my really old business cards. And then the nice thing is, you know, you throw a card down. If it's green, you step over it. If it's red, you step on it, and so on. That's a really nice environmental piece. And even something as simple as when you're on the bike, that the focus is on, you know, even what the screen says as opposed to the feelings in the body. And so that's something simple in your environment that you can use. I think we all have this. Is not fancy pieces of equipment. We all have this in our everyday clinics, and I think it can be very useful. So we hit on a lot today to give a little preview of our neuropracticity. So we talked about the optimal theory using autonomy, enhanced expectancy, and external focus to drive motor learning and improve our outcomes. A couple of big questions people have asked have been in regards to the language. So listen to what you're saying and whether it's promoting autonomy and choice or is more controlling. And don't beat yourself up. This is how you learned it. And just pay attention and start to change it. And then finally, what you can do in the clinic. And you have all of these fun things. And I just want to say hello to Whitney. Hi, Whitney. Whitney, I just saw your comment on there. Whitney's an awesome therapist in Arizona who is doing a lot of great things in neuro. So Whitney, thanks for joining us. So this is a little preview of the stuff that we do with Mike Suter all of the time, stuff that he's really passionate about and we are as well, which is why we're hosting him next weekend for our course. Our course did sell out for being there in person, but we actually do have a couple more spots if you want to join us live online. So if you're not near LA or don't want to jump on a plane right now, you can join us live online. And actually, we got a lot of requests to record the course if you couldn't be there live. And so we decided to do that and provide a discount if you want to sign up for that recorded course with us before we do it on Saturday. So there's a discount code. It's called RECORDED. It'll give you over $50 off of the course recording. So if you want to use that, again, the course is our Neuropracticity 2.0 course. The code is recorded, like a recorded course. And so you can get that at a discount before Friday. And thanks so much for joining us today. Today is probably your after work time. It certainly was for me. And I love this material, love sharing it with you all, and I would love to hear if you found this helpful. So thanks so much for joining us, and I will catch you next Friday. Have a great day.
Hi there. Mommy?
You just got on an Instagram Live.
Sorry. Can we want to take Larry?